Rolling for take 5. Hey y'all, Artist Poet Girl here, also known as APG Jamie, and today we're doing our third and final part of our primitive project. And the links to part 1 and part 2 will be in the iCards above and in the description box below. So in this third part, we're going to make a wall hanging. And as you can see, I have my drawn image that I carved the stamp out of, which is part 2. And I'm using a piece of burlap right here. And I'm kind of sizing it up with my my image, my pencil drawn image there. And trimming it down. So I want it slightly bigger than the image, but not so much so. Does that make sense? Okay, so it made sense in my head. Anywho, I'm really happy with how this project came out. And it was inspired by Peg Robinson, who invited me to be part of a video hop earlier in the month. And it was Art Hop Primitive. And I thought, hey, I think I'm going to carve a stamp. And then I said, no, wait, I think I'm going to make some beads. So I made the beads and I carved the stamp, and now we're making the wall hanging. The first video where I hand make the clay beads is part of a video hop. You are invited to follow that hop or not. That is entirely up to you, because you might have already done seed it. So anyway, now I have 100% cotton rag paper, and I'm trimming it down to go with my stamp size as well, because it's a pretty large stamp. I'm going to put some water on there so I get a pretty good deckled edge. And in my head, if I watered it up, then it would tear just as well, if not better. Oh, dadgummit! Somebody had stuff on their desk, so I had to clear that off, and we're just going to cut a little extra off on this end, which, you know, I don't think it mattered. And that is a decal router. decal edge metal thing. It's not a ruler. It's just a metal thing, aluminum. So there I'm just kind of eyeballing, measuring where I want it, and I'm putting some water on there. I like how that ended up encouraging the text message. You don't think I got a text message? Anyway, how it encouraged it to get really deckled there. I liked it. And this is what we're going to stamp our stamp on. So I'm going to use the Distress Oxide inks. I like those things, y'all. And I'm getting my paper damp. It's not soppy wet. It's just pretty much damp. And I need a new craft mat, y'all. This one's kind of got some holes in it. And anyway, drying that off. Now I'm going to smooch some ink. And there will be a list of ingredients in the description box below, as well as links to the prior 2 videos in this series, and a link to the playlist too, because might as well make a playlist, don't you know? Well, I might not make the playlist right away. In a few days I'll make it. So anyway, that's all my story. Okay, I like it. I likes it a lot. And it looks sort of like aged leather, sorta, not totally, but sorta. And put a little more water on it, and I'm going to lay a napkin on there, because if you use a paper towel, it's going to leave whatever design is in your paper towel, if your paper towel happens to have a design. Here you go, y'all. So I wanted my edges just a little bit darker, so I'm going straight on there, and I'm not sure if that's walnut stain or vintage photo, but that's the 2 colors I used, whichever one is darker. I don't know. And I'm smritching it with some waters. Yeah, that's such a fine misting little spritzer. I got that from the Five Below store. Really like it. In fact, I liked it so much I went back and bought several more. That's what I did. And so, but one of the good things about these oxide inks is you can layer them up, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of drawing my background. It doesn't matter that the back of this gets ink on it or not. So, more heat gun, y'all. Now, in order to have my burlap somewhat stiff, because I don't want it all flippy-floppy, I'm putting some thinned down Elmer's glue all. I'm just using a large size brush for that. And I have my burlap innie pan on top of parchment, baking parchment paper. Now, likewise, I'm using a strip of fabric, muslin fabric, unbleached muslin, and I'll be doing the same for it, but only on the back side, because I'm putting a fold in it, so it's actually like a double piece of muslin fabric, and I'm just going to stiffen the back because I want the top not stiff. Flexible really wouldn't be a goodness. Yeah, just not stiff. And I am going to be doing torn edges on the fabric because I like the little frayed look. This is part of my primitive project, and so I do want it somewhat primitive-ish looking-ish. Okay? Which you'll see, we'll get there. And that is just a piece of fun foam, kind of thicker, not the really thin stuff. Now here's my stamp, and that was carved in part 2. And I'm just brushing over it with a stiff brush to make sure there's no crumblies or anything in there. I have inked my black ink pad so that it's fairly good and juicy. Fairly good. I want to kind of get it lined up. Where do I want my top? Where do I want my bottom? Smoosh it around there pretty good. I'm happy with the transfer or the stamp image. The only thing I wasn't that happy with is because once it got on, and I'm going to say maybe it's the oxide inks or maybe it's the type of paper. It doesn't show as black. It's fairly mottled. Not mottled. It's kind of weak looking. Weak would be a good word. So I got out a very small brush and my re-inker, and I'm going over the lines with the ink on the brush. And it makes it more butter. Way more butter for me. So anyway, once this got dry, I believe I even heat set it. We'll have to wait and see if we get more heat gun, y'all. So I sprayed over it with the Krylon UV resistant spray, and I did 2 coats of that. No, I didn't show you heat gun. So anyway, now I'm showing you that the back part of my muslin fabric is stiff. My piece of burlap is stiff. I'm going to be layering and sewing these together with faux sinew, which is the type of thread. I mean, it wasn't thread. They used animal ligaments and stuff like that to sew things together. They're heavy. They, being primitive peoples, or in the case of people with cactuses, they used the fibers from cactus to hold things together as well. So anyway, it's a really wonky feeling waxed something thread. Okay, I'm using a big eye needle. And I'm going to be pinning this together. I have to use a thimble when I'm sewing. I don't know. It's just this thing I have. So, anyways, I ended up poking myself. I don't know. We might see me jump. Did we jump? I don't know where I jumped it at. But I did poke myself one time. Maybe right. I don't know where it was. Anyway. I did not bleed on the project. I mean, that's what you always say when you're quilting. Don't bleed on the quilt. So, anywho. And I want my stitches somewhat visible, but not visible. And there was probably a better way to do this because these end up not being seen at all. And it's all good, and well. It's all fine. Tying a knot. Double hand, overhand knot, whatever. Granny knot, square knot, some kind of knot. anyway, I'm doing the 2 top corners, and I'm going to go down and do the 2 bottom corners. And I'm just kind of ad-libbing this part because I really wasn't sure how I was going to connect all these pieces together, all right? And we're going to eventually sew the paper on as well. And earlier I showed you a hole punch. I think it's like 1/8 of an inch hole punch. I really don't know the size of it. Anyway, I was shaking my head saying, no, I really don't. So continue on. Clear your thoughts. Calm down. I had punched some holes in the paper, and that way I wouldn't be ripping the paper when I pull my needle and thread through it. And it worked really well. Did I tell you I was really happy with this project? So happy, and so it's going in the art exhibit down at the art gallery for the month of September. Ta-da! There, see, I'm ripping the fabric out, just those little 2 strips there on the side, and we'll do the bottom in a minute. I'm getting rid of some of the excess strings. And when do I tear the bottom? Oh, I guess we're going to do that part now. Anyway, some of them I made a little too thin, but you know, whatever, it's how it goes. I was counting them because I'm like, I don't know, I need to count them. I don't know why I count stuff sometimes, because I do. Some of it's really hard to tear because they were too thin. So, you know, it's not like I didn't have any more muslin fabric, because, you know, I've got a few yards. Probably got 6-7 yards of it. I got a lot of it. I used to make quilts, so just saying. And there again, I'm getting rid of some of the excess threads, because I do want this to look primitive and sort of aged, but not totally aged. Now, like I said, I'd already sprayed this with a UV resistant spray, Krylon. List of ingredients in the description box below. And now I'm going to sew through both layers. No, I'm just sewing through one layer of the muslin here, just the top flexible layer. And I'll be going through each of the holes and just making an overhand stitch, not a blanket stitch, just an overhand stitch. In and out, and out and in. What did I make, like 4 across there, 1 in each corner and 2 in the middles ish. And then when I go down to the bottom corners, I end up going top to bottom, and then I made one side to side, and I thought, oh, I like that. So go back up at the top and put the side to side ones at the top part too, because I liked how it looked. Can you see, sort of? Yes. There will be a photo montage. So, and this video is what? Right at 25 minutes, and it probably took me a good hour or so, if not longer, probably maybe even an hour and a half to sew this together. Well, no, to put the whole thing together. What am I saying? Sew it together. Anyway, I had to wait for the glue to dry and blah, 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 blah. I had to go to the store and find the sinew because I forgot the day before when I was actually out. It's faux sinew. It's not real. Okay. So, that's where I went to the top and made my 2 side ones, which I quickly showed you. So here are the clay beads, which I made in the very first video. And I do have plenty. I thought I would use more, but I didn't. And so I'm just kind of lining them out. I really had no idea I was going to do these. So, yeah. Faking my way through it. Fake it till you make it, right? Flying by the seat of my pants, because that's what I do. And there I'm using my long skinny. I do not like the way wax thread feels in my hands, because when it warms up, it kind of like gets melty, and then you feel sticky and it's icky, and I don't know. So just sewing my beads on as best as I can, and I am stitching them through both layers of the muslin, the top flimsy layer and the stiffer underneath layer. And as you may be able to see, I am kind of mostly eyeballing where this is going, mostly. I put a little pencil mark. It was just a strip of paper I had sitting over there and just laid it on there because it was mostly straight. And I am happy with my project. I am. Sam, I am. So there we go. And then I thought, I think I want some feathers on there. And I just happened to have 3 blue jay feathers. I find feathers when I'm walking sometimes, and sometimes they're in the backyard because I tend to feed the birds. And I'm taking a long strip of the faux sinew, and I'm tying just an overhand knot on the thing of the feather, the stem of the feather stem. I'm not sure what those things are called. Anyway, and I'm going to wrap one side under to the other side, and the opposite tail under the opposite side, so that it's kind of like woven. And now I'm going to tie another knot on the top part, just a regular overhand knot, and I will do that again. I'll just repeat it again till I'm happy with however much weaving I got on there, because it's kind of a woven thing. It's not macrame. I've done macrame. Don't remember how to do macrame. It was not necessarily something I cared to do. My little sister Susan loved doing it. She did a lot of macrame when we were kids. So anyway, so that's what I'm doing. I'm just weaving them back and forth behind the feather stem and tying the knot on top of the feather stem. Could have done it the other way just as easily, but yeah. So I feel very fortunate that I had the 3 blue jay feathers, and they kind of went together pretty well. One was slightly bigger, and the other 2 are almost the same size. Serendipity, people. I'm just saying serendipity. So I slowed the video down so that maybe you could see a little more butter. I don't know if you can see any butters or not, but that's what I tried to do. So you could see me wrap both behind the stem in the opposite direction, and then just tying an overhand knot. So, and yeah, I still got my thimble on my finger because I don't know, it goes on there and I just forget it's even there. I think I kick it off in a minute when I realize I'm like, oh, that thimble's still on there. Silly girl. Oh, now my husband's calling. Pause. Okay, so anyways, just tying that up, and I was going to tie the other feather to it, and I thought, no, I don't think I want to try to do that. I'll tie it separately. Oh, there we go, text message now. So anyway, I ended up doing the other 2 feathers the same way as I did the large one, and here I'm tying them together because I want them together, so it makes a nice little grouping. And I know some of this stuff is out of... Oh, now I have this stick. I found this stick out in the street yard somewhere, and I picked it up because I liked it. It made me happy. Y'all ever do that? Pick stuff up just because you like it? Don't know if you're going to use it or not. Anyways, so I'm taking and making more muslin strips by just ripping them. They rip, when you just do a tiny little notch in it, it'll rip in a straight line. And I'm tying a knot there because that's going to be the loop it hangs by. Well, that was my original thought. Now I've decided I'm going to mount it onto canvas, probably, maybe, but it is as a standalone art piece on its own now with that loop there. It can hang. So anyway, you can't see what I'm doing because it's a secret. Okay, it's a secret, y'all. I think I'll zoom out in a minute. There, I'm pinning, trying to hold it in place. Because I got the hanger in the middle, and then the 2 on the ends of the stick will be actually to the wall hanging piece. And hey, we zoomed out. Ta-da! And the one end kept slipping off. So once I got it pretty well where I wanted it, I used some Weld Bond glue on it. Man, that stuff's some good. That's some good stuff, people. And So I'm sewing that on with my faux sinew, and you can see the stitches, and I liked it, that part. Actually, I like the whole thing. Have I said that already? Well, it must be true. So anyway, we're 20 minutes in, and we got about 5 minutes left. There will be a short photo montage. And if I get around to doing a canvas and actually putting this onto the canvas, which is a different kind of idea. Anyway, I'll try to tweet a picture or Instagram a picture, and or both. Do both. I can do Instagram and it will take it to Twitter. So there, I'm sewing it on, and yeah, it's kind of hard. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of hard to sew all these pieces together because you want it pretty sturdy. So do the stick. It makes me happy. Tie a knot. Oh, I couldn't get it pulled through there, so I went and got my little jewelry pliers, and was able to pull the needle through. Now, if you do that, you have to be careful because you can break the eye of your needle. That's the part where your thread goes through. So there, I'm happy. Now we're going to, what do we do? Oh, we decided we're going to use these round beads. And we just strung them all together. Went around the last one on the line and went back through all of them so that they're kind of on a free hanging thing. And I'm just tying it around there. No, I tied it and then I changed my mind. I said, no, I want to sew it on there. So that's what I'm doing. And I end up wrapping it around the little string there so that you can see the faux sinew. Maybe able to tell in the photo montage coming up at the end in about 3 more minutes. About 3. Yeah, about 3. So there's my top loop, and I'm sewing it around the stick. I untied the knot that I had it tied on there because it was a temporary thing. And now I'm sewing it so that it fits on there nice and tight. And I keep pulling it off to the side so I can see how it's hanging and everything. And here comes my feathers. And we're going to sew the feathers on. And I do them the same. Oh, here's the weld bond. I'm going to put the weld bond right there on the stick, and then I'm going to put the fabric into the weld bond. It's stuck pretty quick. And it will not slide off the stick now. So I'm trying to see where I want it, and I end up sewing through the little loop there that's wrapped around the stick, and then I wrap the thread around and around and around, and the opposite tail of the thread around and around the other way, and then I tie it into a square knot. And I'm pretty confident that it won't come undone because, like I said, this is very waxed, and it doesn't just slip loose. Now, back when older generations would use the real sinew to sew things together, when the sinew dried, it would actually shrank as it dried because it was a natural ligament. I think it was a ligament. Anyway, so it would dry and pretty much just adhere to itself as it, And we're all pretty much done. I'm just kind of clipping that around, and here comes our photo montage. And I'm happy with it. Yes, I am. What do you think? Do y'all like it? Did you like this primitive art project that we've done? I hope so, because I sure have. And I so appreciate all my new subscribers, all my old subscribers. I truly appreciate your kind comments, your liking, your sharing my videos with your friends. And thanks so much, everybody. And disclaimer screen coming right now. Thanks for watching. And happy arting, y'all.